Hey, what's up, guys? It's Brian and Max here at New York Comic Con. We just got to try Westworld in VR. It was HBO designed a Westworld experience for the HTC Vive. We had an appointment here today. What just happened?
So this is perfectly suited for Westworld. It's obviously kind of an immersive premise for a show. You know, it's a theme park full of cowboy cyborgs. In this case, we showed up here. We walk inside. We're greeted by a host, all in white. This man comes up to us and asks us if we'd like to have a male or female companion in this experience.
Yeah.
The whole thing felt like being in a very expensive clothing store, like going to a fitting room. We put on the headsets, and suddenly we are in a virtual reality cowboy outfitting clothing shop, and they let us pick out revolvers and hats, and then it kind of goes into this sort of Westworld-esque experience. It's a little bit of a shooting gallery. It's very much kind of a VR experience. It's not like a full game. It's not like an open world exploration type thing.
The entire experience between the human component of human guests or hosts interacting with us and the VR component of getting in a room and putting on a headset was very seamless, to the point where I started to think that the human hosts were possibly robots themselves.
Yeah.
I know they're not, because we're here in the real world. I mean, it was so well done.
Yeah, the whole thing I'd compare it to is sort of like one of those haunted houses you have at like a theme park. You know, it's part of it's mechanical, part of it's human element. But I've been saying for ages that this is the most practical application for VR in terms of like, a marketing thing. Like, it's sort of like, this is a pop-up shop. This is some event space they rented out, and HBO's using a marketing budget to make this game, which, I don't know, 10 years ago would be put towards like maybe a free iOS game or like a weird website. Yeah, exactly. And so now if this becomes a thing where, I mean, maybe you've got Google Cardboard, maybe you've got Oculus or PSVR at home. If they're like, hey, promoting this new movie or show, get this VR application. Or if you're at Comic-Con, come check out our full booth where you can get the full experience.
So we got to check out this really cool section in the VR component itself, where you're in Westworld and you're looking around and you're in this Wild West town, and a sheriff comes out and he kind of just starts fritzing out and goes nuts, smashes his head against a woman inside of the experience.
Sure.
She goes bloody, everything goes white, and then you wake up sort of behind the scenes in the area of Westworld where the actual employees of the park work.
Yeah.
Where they're managing, creating, and fixing the malfunctions of the robotic host, and it turns out you're actually a host.
Right. So what I thought was really cool is when you're in the actual kind of Western Westworld section of it, it's all CG, it looks like a video game, good graphics and everything, but still you can recognize it's not real people. And then the second everything goes weird, you're kind of back in real life, and it's actually live action footage shot with a 360 camera, so you can still look around. It's still virtual reality, and there's obviously like there's kind of CG overlays and After Effects and everything, but it's kind of a nice break between like, here's a video game and here's real world.
It felt like a ride almost, like you're on a set visit for Westworld, but you're a host and you're a malfunctioned robot, or basically watching something go down, and they get you to sit in a chair. And when they first said, please sit down, I was like, I'm gonna fall on my ass in this room. Turns out there was actually a chair in the room, which I think just appeared, and you were noticing that they took one of the HTC Vive controllers and put it on the back of the chair so it would actually recognize spatially where it was in the room.
Yep.
And you could see it in the game, which means if you went to pick it up, you would actually see it move. So I sat down in the chair, and then you're kind of on the ride. You're getting pushed around almost in a wheelchair through the facility, watching robot malfunctions, watching a robotic horse being built, seeing blood being cleaned up on the floor. It was just a really cool behind-the-scenes sort of like first-person experience of what it's like to work in Westworld, be in Westworld. Like, I'm totally sold in the way that they can tell additional stories from what you see on TV by using VR.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you could do the same thing with, Game of Thrones, True Detective, pretty much, really any concept. I mean, it works especially well with Westworld given the subject matter, but this idea of like kind of, hey, take this TV show, The Ride, here's a glimpse into this actual world. It's really cool to see this being done. I know it's being done with other experiences. I think, Comic-Con's probably got a few more on the floor, but this is how you make VR accessible to people who don't necessarily own VR headsets. Of course, that's something we cover here on IGN, so don't go anywhere. We got plenty more Comic-Con coverage coming up.
See ya.